Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
Roll with my brothers and sisters when we be getting down. You guys like music? What kind of music you like?
We like all music.
Yeah.
All sorts of music, anything from classical and Motown. And,
We're right across the river from Motown. That's our stomping grounds.
I'm telling you, I love music. I love classical. I love rock. I country western. That was me and my mama's favorite. I took her one time to see who was that? Randy Travis.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
she sat right there on the edge of that seat. And you know, we was the only piece of peppers in the salt shaker, right?
I love it.
And we sat there, and she hung on every word he said. And he was looking right down at her, and she said, he looked right at me. And I was like, well, you're the only black person there.
Besides you.
Yeah, I said, he was fascinated by you. And she has loved him, you know, to the day he died. I mean, to the day she died. She loved her some country western, and I'm loving some of you. So, Brains, today we have On the Edge with us. This is where we are. We have the beautiful Mary Douglas and her husband, Ian. We're going to teach you something about stem cells and stem cell research. People don't know about stem cell, but let me tell you, it is the snoop de goop. But there's a lot into it, a lot of responsibility. And I'll give you an insight on a couple of people that I think might be having some stem cell replacement therapy. We're going to talk about stem cells and sex, something that I didn't know anything about, and how these two went under a procedure a week apart. And look at them, Brains. I told them they shining like brand new money. That stem cell is amazing. So help me welcome them to the edge. There they are right there. Ian and Mary Douglas. Hi, family. How are you?
Hey, April. I'm great. How are you?
Doing great, April.
I am really excited because this is going to be a medical evolution for so many people on so many levels. I'm hip to the stem cell, the potent stem cells. But how do you harvest them? How do you inject them? What is the procedure like? What is the aftercare like? And now look at you. How you thriving? Do you have to continue to take drugs? We're going to talk about all of that. So, Ian, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world, sir. I'm going to ask you a little bit about cybersecurity because we are at a threat right now. And I'm scared they're going to get into my little Visa account.
What they're after is the money.
They're after the money and the control and the information. So let me ask you about that, and then I'm going to jump over to you, Mary, but I want to ask him this. Because I have some friends that have been attacked by Anonymous. Number one, I am really impressed with Anonymous, only because of the way that they work. It's a different time now. They're not sending in troops like they used to. They're sending in drones, cybersecurity, germ warfare. The tactics are a lot different, and you cannot fight a 21st century war with 1960 tactics.
Well,
so what can people do to kind of protect themselves just on a basic level? I say things like, be sure to change your password, go in and delete your history and your cookies. But what else would you say to people to protect themselves?
It's really funny. They say to change passwords, and I have quizzed many people from the top security companies. They don't actually change their passwords. That was something that was brought up by the NIST, and a gentleman who's been retired for about 10 years now, Bob Burr, apologized to all of us, and he said he was under the gun to get that recommendation done, and they pushed it out within 90 days and got all that stuff in NIST to be the gold standard. But what happened was that was the time when we had 3 passwords to remember.
Oh my
So
God.
changing it wasn't a big deal. What you got now is a huge problem. You need, number one, some way of managing your password. So you got to have a password manager. Bitwarden's a good one that does some free stuff. works across platforms.
What's it called
LastPass is a
again?
huge-
What's it called?
Bitwarden, BIT Warden. And they're a great one. They offer a nice free package. They have a commercial product, but they're not going to force you into having a paid service. So, and that's the kind of thing you need. Now, there's lots of paid ones, LastPass and 1Password. There's a whole bunch of them. You can Google all that stuff. But number one, you got to have secure passwords. So that's the big thing. Number two, don't let people into doing banking in bad places. So if you're on the road and you're in a hotel, don't use the Wi-Fi there and think your banking's secure, because it's not. And so just be careful with Wi-Fi. Starbucks, you don't want to be doing stuff across at the Starbucks when you're sitting there, because you're on a free Wi-Fi. So if you're on any kind of open Wi-Fi, you got to avoid doing financial transactions. And so those are the main things. The other thing is, you got to watch for business email compromise. That's the biggest issue going on right now. People are trying to get into people's email. They're trying to send you emails as if they were you. They are doing weird background things. And if they can get into your email, then that's the factor that will give them access to most of your stuff. So on all financial transactions, set up multi-factor authentication. Okay. MFA, or we used to call it 2FA.
Because they got me. Somebody went in.
Yeah,
they went in on the bank, got me for $2,500. Luckily, my bank was on top of it. Changed my name to Miguel Gonzalez. And changed my email. I'm bad enough with April Mahoney. They don't think I'm who I am. I said, but you go in and they change these things. And again, like you said, there's so many passwords. But I go in regularly and change mine, because you're dealing with so many things. But removing those cookies and removing your history, because you're clicking on the same stuff, you're creating a pattern.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what I do is I use the password manager to help me generate a secure password that's this long. This way you've got a password that has something that's not going to be easily changed or hacked.
Right.
So that's your big primary thing. Okay. You don't have to change them, but if you got one that's this long that nobody could guess, then and don't always use 14 digits. Use 17, use 12, use 11, use 15. It doesn't matter, but just change them up.
and write them down.
That's where the password manager comes in. It'll keep them in a secure vault for you. You got one password to remember, and it's the password to the darn vault. And that's it. And then you're secure. So number one, the secure passwords. Number two, multi-factor authentication for all financial stuff. And then make sure not to use the free Wi-Fis. 90% of your trouble goes away right there. And now you only got to worry about, did you get your email compromised? Did they phish you? Did they send you something that looks like, well, you had to authorize a shipment for $100, $113. They'll make it a specific sounding amount.
Yeah, they do. Right.
Like, you've got an Amazon delivery, but we got to redo the schedule on it. Of course you got an Amazon delivery. Who doesn't?
Right. Everybody's getting something from Daddy Jeff. That's what we call him, Daddy Jeff.
Exactly. And so what's happening, you're trying to make sure that you don't get taken over by one of those normal looking things. They'll tell you, hey, I'm just authenticating from Bank of America, and never follow links from any of that stuff to jump in. If you get an email that looks like it has a link in it, your bank didn't send that one. They sent one blank that just said, hey, watch out for this and log into your account. Because your bank knows better than to put links in anymore. But it looks just like Bank of America or Fifth Third or whatever. It looks like one of the majors. And the fakes are good now.
I have a cybersecurity expert that is in London. She works with the G20. And she was telling me that the easiest way to get into some people's compromise their computer is through the thermostat. Have you heard that?
So all these new Internet of Things devices have got to call back, and they call back to some computer in China. It's like, really, guys, are you kidding? Wow. So you have to be super secure with how you set those up in your house. Even the Alexa devices are all sitting around.
I
there
know,
just
and
as
I don't like
blatant.
it. Right, and I don't like Siri. I cussed her one day. She says, "There's no need to be rude."
I love it.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I try not to use it. All right. Well, thank you all so much for that information. Mary, it's your turn, Queen. Tell us how you show up in the world.
How I show up in the world is I'm a coach and I mentor people who want to change their lives. And I got to tell you, April, it's an inside job. People want to change, and it's not about willpower. It's about having the will to do it. And I help them get there. What I focus on is personal development. And I take them through the journey like I've been through the journey. And people in the beginning who want to be coached or think they want to be coached think that it's going to answer all their prayers. You have to show up. If you're not present in what you're doing and conscious of what you're doing, it's really easy for the paradigm to grab you and sway to your old ways. So you have to be totally conscious and mindful of all you do. It's just like my own transformation with the stem cells. It took a lot of, I guess it took some courage. I knew I wanted to do it.
You guess.
But I wanted to do this in 2011, but I didn't. I guess it was fear. And when I got into a group with my mentor and people I study with, I got certified. I had that group of support. As a matter of fact, April, when I went to get our stem cells, I went to a Dream Builder conference because I knew there was power there. And there were people who were supporting me. And we prayed a lot. So I go to this huge event in LA, and we're on the plane after that. So what I do is I help people become the person they want to be. And it's not about getting from point A to point B. It's the journey and who you become in that transformation.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, let me dial back and share as much, disclose as much as you want or don't want. So you're part of a faith-based community. Do you mind sharing what that faith-based is?
Are you talking about for my business?
No, for your personal self, or that supported you in the stem cells.
Oh,
the BTO.
Yeah, the Brave Thinking Institute.
Really?
Yes.
I've never heard of that before.
Oh, yes. And actually, truthfully, my doctor was a support, my children are support, and going to church and just praying.
Well, see, that's what I want to ask, because progressive thinking.
Yes.
Okay, forward thinking. Again, we are in 2022. We are not in 1962. And stem cell is controversial.
Very.
Okay, so I'm just trying to create a parallel on who's progressive in this area. There's religions that, heaven forbid you get a blood transfusion.
Oh, that's true.
There's religions that, women still have to always wear dresses. So to know that there are, right. Don't celebrate certain holidays. So I'm just trying to educate my brains as to what doctrines are out there that support whatever entity or whatever direction you're going. I just want to give them that guideline. So that's really good to know. Now, you done harvest some stem cells. Okay, it's not like harvesting corn.
Or it was that easy.
So I want to hear a little bit about this stem cell journey that you two were on. Firstly, if you would please share with us why you got stem cells and stem cell therapy.
Okay, you wants me to go first. Okay.
All right.
Well, I was in a very bad MVA, motor vehicle accident, in 2006, and it changed my life. Instead of getting better, I continue to get worse. And I have something called complex regional pain syndrome. How it develops is from RSD. Now, there's two things. RSD is reflex sympathetic dystrophy. There's cold RSD, which is a tough nut to crack, which develops inevitably into complex regional pain syndrome and hot RSD. Well, as fate had it, I got the cold RSD. And after seeing over 100 doctors, top in their field, there was nothing they could do for me. And I had to be carried around. So in 2011,
You had to be you had to be literally carried around?
because I refused to be in a wheelchair.
Quite a bit. I was lifting her a lot, and I was a little heavier at the time.
Oh, but isn't that sweet? See, Blaze, when you in love, you will carry the load. Go on with yourself, man. I ain't mad at you, Don Juan. Go on.
But it did have a noticeable effect on me having to lift her. You know, it was pronounced. So I ended up having more issues and aggravated past my. When I was 17, I lifted a refrigerator, and I had a messed up lower back. Knew it. Had some other problems, and when I was 28, I had a pinched nerve in the lower back in that area, and passed out, whacked the wall at work, just like blew out the breaker for that room when I hit this thing so hard.
Wow.
Anyway, I had that original injury from 17 that was re-aggravated by the time I was in my 40s and was lugging her around. I was really starting to be messed up. My lower back was just like distressing. So I had some
chronic pain. Yeah. So, that's a little blue pill, a little pink pill, a little injection, all that kind of stuff. And then what happens is when you numb it, you just go on about your daily routine. You go ahead and lift her a little bit more. And then once that anesthesia or medication wears off, you're jacked up like a soup sandwich.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they stop working. They do the worst for you later.
And you self-medicate and maybe have a drink of something and think that's going to help too. And
okay. And then you turn into an addict, and that was never your intention.
Exactly.
I know people, and then you go from this to that to this, and then you go to street drugs because you can't get a prescription. I mean, look at Prince.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that was very sad.
Now, look at Michael Jackson. You know, and these are just high profile. Let's talk about Joe Blow down there in Michigan, somewhere that's it's an epidemic now.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's progress forward and talk about harvesting of stem cells. Now there is polypotent stem cells. They can be taken from skin. They can be taken from the placenta. They can be taken from blood. But tell us a little bit about your process.
Okay, so the stem cell procedure that we were involved with had been modified a little bit over the years for our practitioner, and he took stem cells from bone marrow, which he found very highly effective, and he also took some from adipose fat. And the idea being that when he took and combined both sets of stem cells, his efficiencies went way up and his procedural effectiveness went way over 90%. So he knew that by doing, the adipose fat, he had a certain result. By doing the bone marrow ones, he had a certain other result. But when he combined them, it was just off the charts. His results were amazing. So if you're getting 19 out of 20 patients that are having positive results, you stick with it, right? And so that one was the full body stem cell makeover that we had. But
explain it
better. So let me hear a full body. I mean, is it like a Brazilian butt lift? Do they?
So I haven't got any experience with that. So
check you up, because I'm telling you guys, not a wrinkle, not a crinkle. Your skin is glowing. You got hair. You haven't lost your hair. You got your teeth. Really?
Yeah.
Brains is magic.
So what they did is they took 600 mil of material. So it's about, 24 ounces of material from you. So they do about 6 ounces each side from your ilium, the large bone in the top of your pelvis. And then they take 6 ounces out of each of your love handles to get the adipose fat. And so those are all, the bone marrow is the hard one to do. And they centrifuge down the bone marrow material. Takes them about 45 minutes for that process to happen at the lab. Meanwhile, you're out while they're doing this stuff, and they're going in for the adipose fat while they're sent the stuff off to the lab. Comes down to a golden elixir layer. And that's what they extract. That's where the stem cell material lives and they do the same thing with the adipose fat. They bring you a little bit out of your, because you're knocked out for this, right?
Twilight.
Well, I hope so.
No, yeah, you wouldn't want that.
Okay, so I have seen people, and I'm just trying to give you a visual brain so that you can understand. We don't have a diagram here, but I'm sure you can Google it, and I'm sure that there's a YouTube video. But it's kind of like getting an epidural,
Yes.
where they're going in with the needle and extracting amount of fluid.
Real.
And then they spin it as if they would spin blood for plasma, and they separate that, and then they get these different layers, and then this golden layer is what we're looking for.
Yep, that's the stem cell material.
See, brains, I'm smart. I told you.
You are smart. And what they do, they get exosomes from donors.
So then there's an activator hormone that they can get, which is called exosomes. And the way that they do that is they are able to get sourced material from placental and umbilical cord material. So they make sure that that's all screened, and you don't actually get any of their DNA. All you're getting is the activator hormone called the exosome.
Okay, so that was good to know, because I'm thinking, okay, now they go, now your hair was blonde and you're gonna turn out to be a redhead, and all these different things. So that's good to know, because the placenta, that's another thing that is extremely controversial.
It sure is. And
people don't realize but that was waste anyway. And there is so many nutrients.
That's right.
DNA, genomics. It's
And
so
it's
much
growth
in that
hormone.
placenta. Yeah, it's a growth
So
hormone.
basically, the exosome is your growth hormone. It's the thing that activates the stem cells. So
And
it's
keeps
all
you young.
your own stem cells. I think that's the biggest key to this. The FDA had some wacky rules, but the long and short of it is, if they did this the same day, it's not considered a drug. If they take it out, then they're and they process it for 3 or 4 days and they do other stuff, it's considered a customized drug. You're not allowed to do it because it's not approved drug by FDA. So by doing it same day procedure, they know that it's your own material. They didn't do anything to expand the growth of the stem cells. They didn't do anything. They just re-inject your stem cells. Now, there are places you can go, Costa Rica or, outside of the US, and you can get things done there where they'll extract stem cells, then they'll grow them in a lab for a month. And then you come back for procedure. But this one's not done that way.
So they take the fluid that they need, they activate it, and they inject you all in the same day?
Yes.
They sure do. And they put in needles, and he's got what an amazing procedure, but he's got a 3D x-ray machine with about 8 great big screens on TVs all over this OR. And he has precise positioning of this in 3 dimensions where he puts, and he goes right from your atlas, right at the base of your spine, all the way down, and does every joint, both sides. Does your big toe, your thumb, your wrists, elbows, shoulders. They do you from the one side, and then they flip you over and they do the other side. So
Sounds like Mr. Magnificent.
Oh yeah. And it is just an amazing procedure, and you feel like you've got really, like, you've had surgery when you come out of there.
Okay, all right. So then I'm gonna get to you in a minute. 1 minute, Mary. But Ian, the recovery, because now your immune system is blank and you are starting from grassroots. Could be infections, fevers, just, all kinds of ifs could occur. Sure. And I'm sure, again, I'm looking at you guys, that this doctor is magnificent.
He is.
But the recovery process, do you have to be in a sterile environment to recover? Because I know some people that have had some stem cell work, and they, are almost like in a bubble.
So there's no worry about being in a bubble for any of this stuff, but they do cover up the places that they went in for harvesting the stem cells, because, you know, obviously that stuff has got to be covered up, and it's well gauzed. And the next day after your surgery, you go back, and the folks in the office there, the professionals, the nurses there, redo your dressings. And then you're not allowed to have a shower for a couple days afterwards, because you have to, no baths for a week. You can have a shower after about 3 days, but no hot tubs. You're not allowed any of that kind of stuff for the initial.
Right.
But
that's where the fungus grows, Brains. Know that because the water is hot, that's growing that bacteria. It's not killing it.
Yeah. And it would also weaken things. So after, I think it's 12 days, we had suture kits where we had to undo the stitches. So we had to undo each other's, and you are bruised and looking like you're kind of run over a little bit for a while. But within 2 weeks, I felt like just amazing. And the energy level that comes from having this activation of stem cells in your body with that activator exosome, you start to feel like you can feel the fingertips just pulsing with energy, like just amazing recovery. Now, Mary took a little longer because of her more complications, but the doctor had asked us just ahead of going in, is there anything special you want me to look at? And I mentioned to him, Doc, when I'm on an airplane, commercial flight somewhere, I'm the first guy who wants to jump up out of the seat. I am uncomfortable, not able to sit down, just like, you know, my lower back's bothering me. He says, I'll have a look at it, Ian, it'll be fine. So he went in and looked, and he said, Ian, by the way, you had a shattered tailbone. I said, gee whiz, like I wasn't supposed to feel that. I don't feel that pain anymore, April. He said, that is permanently solved.
Honest to Bob, you don't take a little
I don't take a little anything. No, I'll take some pasta once in a while. Or
wow.
No, I enjoy my food, and I don't take anything other than a few normal type supplements in the morning, like zinc and D3. Like I don't take any kind of drug.
All right, Mary, I want to jump to you for a minute because I want to ask you a little bit about, hormones and this procedure. Because, girl, a hot flash is not pretty. And if he can inject something in these women, he get a little vial, like Botox. If he can inject that to get rid of those hot flashes. But your hormones, women are very, very sensitive. Our breasts, our uterus, just our whole mindset, where men aren't as susceptible. How did this affect you in that regard?
Okay, well, full disclosure, April, I have never taken any bioidenticals. I have never had hot flashes. And I'll tell you why. It's diet. But because my pain was so extreme prior to the procedure, I felt that, well, I will say this. I had to have my uterus removed. I had severe uterine prolapse in 2011 or 12. Yeah. And that was not a surgery I was looking forward to. I was concerned because my CRPS. Fast forward, I talked to the doctor because you can have, people don't know this, but when you've had your uterus removed because of prolapse, you can have prolapse again. Women don't know that. And weight gain.
Okay, tell me what prolapse is.
Prolapse is when you're, let's just say, okay, here's your ovaries, and they're holding up here. Prolapse is when it's pulling down. Your uterus is like
it's basically falling in on itself.
Yeah. Right. I've heard women that, their bladder after they've had surgery or whatever, or if they don't do their Kegels. And ladies, you should do at least 125 a day.
I'll tell you something. You
gotta tighten those muscles, honey.
You do. You absolutely do. So I have to take this back a bit, April, so everybody listening gets clarification. In 2008 or 7, my CRPS really started winding up. And the strangest thing, I used to eat everything. And when I had ribs or a steak, a nice ribeye or New York, lamb. Like I love to eat, and I was a gourmet cook. So I would be in my pain. It was like somebody was actually turning up the flames, and I would be just out of my skin. And I said to my husband, I think it's the food. And he's like, the food? That doesn't make sense.
It is.
Because it was tasting good.
Well, this is my thing. I was having hot flashes to the point where, you know, you snatching the covers off of the bed. I want it cool. He wants it warm. It was awful. I'd be talking to somebody and I just break out in a sweat.
I have
And
friends
I was
like
like,
that.
what? I said, what is going on with me? I kept a food journal. You are 100% correct. I started documenting what it was and how long was it between the time that the symptoms started to occur and what were the symptoms based upon that. Girl, I found the soda.
Yeah.
The sugar.
And the caffeine. Coffee would make my breast real tender and sensitive. Again, barbecue sauces, those types of things. If you keep that and extract that from your diet, I'm telling you, it'll take the edge off of it.
I'll tell you what they are. MSG, which is a preservative, and it's in everything. Natural flavorings means MSG. So if you have allergies to monosodium glutamate, don't have it because it's hurting you. Gluten, eggs, if they're not free range, those chickens are injected with only God knows what. You're getting that. That's why your hormones are crazy. Dairy, unless you have your own cows and you let them go to pasture, I'm sorry.
If you can get free range stuff, you're in
if
good
you
shape.
get organic, free range, grow your own. If you have a little home farm and you let them graze, do not inject them because anything you think they are getting, and I'm going to tell you this is not, you know, that Halloween candy or the candy that goes bad, they give that the farmers. They eat that. That's what they're.
It fattens them up.
Yes. And guess what you're getting? You're getting what they get.
You're getting all that, you know, but I tell people this is where everything is coming from. Cancer, autistic, Alzheimer's. It's the food. You are what you eat, brains. You are what you eat. And what are we going to do? We're going to go to the grocery store and we've got to get the stuff that's mass produced. Number one, to eat organic is expensive, which I think is a ripoff because
we know all about it.
We know.
Yeah. So, you know, vegan, I can't do vegan because when I cook it, it tastes like straw.
I cook it.
There is a path to get to because she was a gourmet cook. And our son, our youngest, was living at home at the time. He says, "What happened, Ma? You can't cook anymore."
I'm sick of quinoa. He says,
but what happened, I learned too, is that your palate changes and it will adapt.
It does.
And it's a gradual process. See, brains, it's not going from A to Z. This is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's a live it.
Yes.
It's a live it. And it's a lot because I'm working on trying to live it as well. But I look at my plate and I talk to my plate and I always pray over my plate. I pray for the sacrifice, for the cook, for the delivery driver, you know, all of that. And for good elimination because gut health is where all this stuff lies and it permeates through your body. So to do a cleanse, even to have a colonoscopy, I just had one. It wasn't pleasant. But what was pleasant was knowing that my colon was completely clean. You have to get that stuff out. You know, it's gunk on the side that's been there 5-6 years. If you go to the bathroom and when you go to the bathroom and the whole house smells, you're rotting inside.
Yeah.
No,
for sure.
If you do a clean juice every now and then, we go to the bathroom. We don't even know if someone's eliminated or not because there's no smell.
Right.
But that's enough about that internal cleaning and all of that, hormonal stuff.
You're right.
Yeah, but so now let's talk about what happened to you when you got your injection, girl, and you started feeling better. Were you just like, were you shocked?
Well, this is what happened with me. I had my stem cells. Ian went running to the races. He was like, who is this man? He was like 20. And I'm like, holy smokes. I look like I was less than 5% of the people I bruised. There was not enough fat on me. So I was black and blue and I did not feel like groovy.
Right.
I was not feeling like, wow, amazing. I was feeling like, what the heck? I feel like someone threw me down a flight of stairs and ran me over. So the nurse kept calling me back and forth. It's a slow process. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to put more pressure on this leg and begin to walk. And it took about, I would say, 2 to 3 months to really notice some things, but it was very ebb and flow. And I had my procedure January 2020. How ironic is that? And then in September, 6 months later, my birthday, I was like,
starting to really
I was
feel
like,
better.
wait a minute. It was almost like I didn't have this pain. What's going on? And I was able to walk, but the doctor did say, you do not need to injure yourself. So whoever gets this procedure, don't think you're going to jump out of an airplane, because you're not, that's not happening. You got to take care of yourself, like what you were talking about earlier. You get infections, you're very volatile.
But that period of volatility is pretty compressed. It's a few weeks.
In the infection part, but the healing, because what stem cells do is healing. So Dr. Adelson does the procedure, the stem cells. Dr. Amy Killen does the skin, sex, and hair. We did not have the hair thing done. We both had the, may I speak freely?
Girl, this is what I've been waiting for. Because again, I wanted to prep this. Young women, you talk about turning 40. Oh, I don't want to be 40. Baby, 40 is a rite of passage. Your libido goes, pew, okay? If you got the right thing going on, it's right between being 40 and the menopause. You get the surge that's going on. So now you're going to tell me, I want to hear all about this now. I've never heard about the sex and the stem cell. Bring it on.
Okay. So I had spoke to Dr. Killen, because they work in conjunction. So you got to remember, the men are in there, the anesthesiologist, they all leave the room. So it's just you and our lady doc. She's a MD. And prior to having this done, we sit in this room and there's this thing you put it, and it's not a vibrator, but they put it inside you. And what it does is it stimulates all the walls of your internal pelvic floor. So you've got scar tissue if you had kids sometimes from those darn episiotomies, or if you're ripped, whatever, that is a little sensitive. So what she's doing is she's stimulating all that. So then she takes, you're in the operating room already. That doesn't really hurt. You're just feeling like a little, and that goes on for about 20 minutes. My husband
was about 40 minutes.
Okay, 40 minutes.
Did that. So it's a photon therapy thing. So
You say, I'm just making sure you're not jacking up my girl, and I got her some stem cell. Now you're going to jack her. I'm watching you.
After Dr. Adelson and his team, I have my procedure done. Then they leave the room, as I say. Dr. Killen comes in and she is putting stem cells in you. And I'll tell you what that does.
What?
That is, so you are building collagen down there. Really? And because as you get older, it's like, okay, how do I?
It's regenerative therapy based.
It's like, when we're younger, our skin is tight. Well, our skin is not tight, and we're, hot and juicy when you're younger.
Absolutely.
When you're older, you're not so juicy.
And dry and crackly and crinkly.
That way, yeah. 100%.
But again, vaginal drying is also a part of the hormonal and a part of the menopause for some women.
Absolutely. And I didn't experience hot flashes because of my diet, how I transformed it. But the other part, not so much. I thought, what can I do for this? And they were telling me you can have this done. I said, I am not taking no horse urine pills. Sorry, not signing up for that. And I'm not doing this and that. I want to.
And women are doing they're doing a vaginal facelift. No, vaginal facelift.
Yeah. Yes, they do that with Botox therapy, and that helps with that. But so I have this thing done, and she gives you this V Fit Pro. So I had that done, and then just prior to that, she said, "Well, you two didn't sign up for the face stuff." And I said, well, she said,
Anyway, she talked us into it,
Yeah.
so we both had microneedling.
microneedling. See, when you go to the doctor and you have microneedling, they can't go inject you that deep. So we had the blood plasma and the stem cell product. So they were able to go real deep because you're under, right? And while after that, all that lady stuff was done, I had this microneedling done. So she put stem cell product on me, blood plasma injected, and that goes down to the epidermis of the skin, and it's establishing your collagen, and you get new collagen growth. So that was a real big.
Wow. Okay, now, Ian, you didn't have any thing done. You had some sexual stuff done to your unit?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Really?
she wasn't explaining that it was called the O shot for her. And guess what mine's called?
What?
The P shot.
Yeah, because O for orgasm.
Oh, wow.
I forget the technical name for the P shot, but it's anyway, with Amy, she was able to take material and inject for me as well. Now you're totally out, so I didn't know anything about what was going on, but I can tell you it works.
And
Okay, well, wait. I'm just trying to gather the information. So did they take some fluid from your scrotum?
No, this
What
was
are
so what they do is, as Mary said, they do the blood plasma. So they've got that going on with the stem cell material. So
Wow.
they've already taken all the material out. They've got everything that they needed. So
And
for
they
her to turn
inject him.
around and then they just inject, and several injections. It's not one injection, but it's like,
Wow. And so they made you feel like you was 20 again down there?
you bet.
but tell what else they sent you home with. They send you home with something.
Oh yeah, so you look like you're in an Austin Powers movie. You got one of those little cylinders with it's my bag.
Okay. No, and I mean, do you have to, it's like after a man has a vasectomy, they have to kind of get, they got to kind of work it to see if there's still any semen or, and what's in the semen after that procedure. So is this kind of the same thing? Do they kind of measure your level of testosterone or?
What they do is they give you the pump and you put the pump on and it helps increase your blood flow. So it's a Dr. Kaplan pump, and basically it's just you pump and go through the treatment protocol. So
I mean, you pump until you don't need to pump, or is this an ongoing thing?
Well, tell her what's going on.
So it's for the first 6 to 12 months. Afterwards, you go through the procedure. You use it several times a week.
Okay.
And it's just to improve the blood flow. And at a certain point, I haven't had to use it now for a while.
Okay.
But that is not recommended.
I'm so glad that you guys are being, honest and candid about this. Brains, you better appreciate them. Really, people wouldn't go into depth about this. And this is your personal life, your personal sex life. You can't get more personal than that unless you let me look at your checkbook. And I get it, but this is really, really amazing because I didn't know that. So, this might be an option for someone that was maybe taking Viagra, or a woman that is, kind of having to use ointments all the time because she has vaginal drying, or she has no sex drive, low libido. Okay, so we're talking about all of this kind of stuff and regenerating. They got regenerated from their head to their toes. I've seen people like beautiful Robin Roberts. She got it done because of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I know another particular celebrity out there that I believe is collecting placentas. They've had numerous children, very close together, but they're suffering from lupus. And I believe that they're harvesting the stem cells so that they can have this stem cell procedure done to save their life. I'm not knocking them, but I think that they're also gathering them in the event that any of their children that they have, they also have this, because you're able to freeze this, Brains.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like you freeze eggs.
Yes.
Exactly.
They ask you now, when you have a baby, would you like for us to keep the placenta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our children are at bearing age, and they've been asked that. My daughter-in-law actually said, they asked me to keep it. And I don't remember if she did or not. And I said, well, she said, is that where you got your stem cells? And I said, absolutely.
That's right.
And
That's
they, and when you have a grandchild who is, well, he was what, 10 at the time. And he said, Nana, you're standing up better. And
Yeah.
children don't lie. And they're like, you look younger, Nana, you walk younger. And I mean, that is the tell all in itself. But I will share this with you, April, to have what we had done, what they recommended. And you have to remember, this was literally, talk about divine intervention from God, Father in heaven. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. COVID happened. I didn't know if I was going to wake up. I thought literally I was going to die. I was ravaged in pain. And what Dr. Killen recommended is to have, go to a doctor who does bioidenticals and check your levels, your hormone levels. And for Ian to see a doctor, and you could have a upgrade procedure. He did not have a problem prior to going, but as you get older, life changes. That's part of who we are as the human race. Sorry, no one gets out alive, and we all go through the process. So we just wanted to make sure that we were humming. And what I will say is, because I was in so much pain, we were not able to be intimate the way my husband's the same. I got to tell you.
Well, he was carrying you, girl. He was carrying you.
This man loves me.
And I'm telling you, I've been married 37 years and I have a hot flash and I look at him and he was like, okay, I know. I'm not even going to try to go there. I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, and that can cause a rift in the relationship.
We make love every morning, my dear, every morning since our stem cells.
See, that's awesome sauce. That is
all these young girls, they don't know what love is. Sorry, ladies, if you guys are young, you think you all got it going on. You don't.
You don't know.
No, you don't. It is and you're more relaxed. You have no hangups. I got to tell you, they don't care that your booty got bigger. They love it. They don't care you got a little bit of handles. They love it. Men and women, get out of your head. Just be comfortable with who you are.
Exactly. Well, that takes work. All right. So now before we conclude, dollars and cents. I don't know exactly, but this is not inexpensive and it's not a co-paid item.
Nope.
It's not going to be picked up by your insurance. But it was picked up by the Holy Spirit because you two were able to get this, go to the best in the world, and heal. What do we say to the person of means that has this, that want to do it? I mean,
Well, here's the thing. Dr. Adelson is a really kind man. And what he does is, if you've served in the military and if you have no resources, somebody can elect you and he will do this pro bono. He only does
shut the front door. No, he won't.
Yes.
He does one day out of 20. So he has normal month is 20 working days. One of them he donates back to service providers from the military, from fire, police, Coast Guard, whatever kind of, or people who have had injuries or accidents and can't fund themselves.
But it's not an easy procedure. It's his way of tithing. Right. But I don't know about I'm sure it's.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Brains, I just want to, give a disclosure here that this may not be for everybody. And what you want to do is do your own research, work in conjunction with your medical professional, but look into it. I provide you options and choices, and I give you the information. Now, what you do with it, that's your responsibility. We can only give you our perspective and from what we understand. But for him to even do one person a year, to give them an opportunity to regain their life, their mobility, their sexuality, their vitality, he's earned sainthood.
Yeah.
And it may not work for everybody, Brains. And I'll be, from my perspective, you could die. This is a risky procedure. But when you go to the dentist's office, you sign off on that too. And you could die. So that's not the intention. But understand that there is risk versus a reward. And you have to decide for yourself and your family members what is best for you. And you two have just been over the top. I am so glad that you have been here to share this with me on the edge. Brains, this is an exclusive. You can Google anybody you want to. You're not going to get the in-depth like we just did.
No, you
You're
won't.
You know?
And I'm
And I'm
bouncing
so
like a
glad that I
tornado.
found you. I'm so glad that I found you. And really, this should be recorded in a book, an audio version. People should be able to have access to this as much as you want to disclose, because it's a miracle. And I know a lot of people. I remember the first time I was introduced to stem cell research. I was at an event. Again, the only piece of pepper in the salt shaker. I love that. I like to be unique. But the reason why I tell you that is because African Americans or people of color are hesitant for any type of exploratory or experimental treatment because of how we have been treated in the past. We have been treated as lab rats. They injected syphilis in black men to see how they would react.
Oh my
They
God.
gave smallpox to the Native Americans to see how they would react. The very first, if you go back, person that got injected with the vaccine for COVID was a black doctor giving it to a black woman. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I knew that.
So, there's checks and balances, and we're not trusting because of how we've been treated. But
Yeah.
along those same lines, Brains, let me say that if you do not get involved, you're going to get left behind. Because as much as we are the same, we are very different. That is how God made us. We are different flowers in the garden. And there's going to be certain genetics and DNA and genomics that are very individual to our species as a human being, not as a race, but as a human being. There are very specific things. So if we don't get involved in clinical trials, if we don't use this experimental treatment, if we don't let them document it, then you're doing our species a disservice. Okay? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Go in and get what you need to get done. I am an advocate. I got the shot and the booster. I've been to foreign countries. I've had malaria. Malaria shots. I've had yellow fever. Hell, I didn't know what that was in that either. But you're going to be combative about something that could possibly change your life and the life of civilization moving forward. Now, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I tell you what I know. So when I go to this event, they say, "Oh, April, we want you to meet the doctor. We want you to meet the doctor." And I meet the doctor, and she says, "Can you get some people to be involved in this stem cell research that I'm doing, because I have no black people."
Oh,
No black people. She can't even have a conversation with black people. Okay? They're not doing it. Again, there's certain religions. Don't mess with my blood. I get it. Okay? So, long story short, I get some people. They go in, they do it. One of the ladies asked the doctor, "May I see the vial before you inject me?" "Oh, no, it's this, that, no. May I see the vial before you inject me?" "Why, you don't trust me?" She says, "No, I don't trust you." Because of, and that's 100%. A lot of people like to go along to get along, and which is really stupid. You have to be your own advocate. You have to know what's going on. Long story short, she says, "I don't trust you because of what happened in, Tuskegee to black men." Do you know that doctor knew some of those doctors that conducted that experiment?
Oh my.
He disclosed, and she went along with it. I'm just saying, this is one of the reasons that you want to go into our community and you want to get us to get this antibody and get this vaccine and do this and do that. You want to run to Africa. You're a gazillionaire. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The first place you want to go is where there's large populations. You want to go to Africa. You want to go to India. These are the indigenous people on the planet. So if it works for them, it's going to work for the rest of us. Okay?
But we don't.
Be cautious. Be cautious. I'm just giving it to you. Now what you want to do with it, that's up to you. You make your own decision. But you guys have warmed my heart, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my socks, because my heart is not deep enough.
You're so sweet. But April, before we conclude, I do want to add one thing. If people do want to go and see Dr. Adelson, at the Doceri Clinic, there is a screening. And I'm going to tell you how good this man is. There's a protocol and you have to send him some things. If he does not feel that you are a candidate for this and you will not receive the benefit, he will not do you. He will not take your money. So
to know.
That is a very good thing to know. And
he has integrity. And again, medicine is not a perfect science.
No,
it's not.
And there's no guarantee.
No, there's no guarantee that you get the stem cell and you looking good and you step off the curb and get hit by a damn bus.
That's right.
That's true.
That's right.
But I am bouncing around like a 20-year-old now.
Wow.
I do not have the back problems that I did.
Now, let me just ask another quick question before we go. I could talk to y'all for hours. Do you have to go back for, maintenance?
Well, you could have touch up, because when I was in my accident, I've got problems with my discs and I was having really severe pain because the other CRPS pain was overriding. So everything else you don't feel it. And he said, you come in and I'll give you a little touch up. But he said, you're good. And he had done people that had what I had. So I trusted him.
For me, he said, when he went in, that I had a little bit of degeneration on my disc for my L4. He said that one he has permanently repaired. The disc on the L5 was degenerated, and he says he can't repair it. It was beyond repair. He said, but the rest of the stuff, and including my tailbone, which it was totally shattered, it is totally healed. Never have to touch it again. So it's different for different people and for different injuries. If it's too severe, nothing they can do about it. But for the most part, they can pretty much heal most of it. And it's your own body doing the work. That's the funniest.
Right.
You have to, but one thing we did do to change our life, and probably why we look the way we do, we looked at these people and they look pretty amazing. And he asked us not to drink wine or alcohol a couple weeks before the procedure and a couple weeks after. So I asked him, what's your drink? We drank red wine with dinner with friends. He said, we don't drink. And we said, why not?
So we quizzed the folks there, and nobody on staff, nobody.
Why don't you drink? Is it religious? We're not asking to be, intrusive in your spiritual. He said, alcohol of any kind kills stem cells.
We're in the business of stem cells. Alcohol kills stem cells.
So our friends have said,
we just don't.
How can you not have wine anymore? You guys were like wine connoisseurs. And I said, we don't mind you drinking wine. We're just not having it. Because you know what? I am over 60. And
wow.
Yes.
How old are you, Ian?
I'll be 60 in October.
Wow.
And I turned 62 in September. I feel like I'm 20. I do. And I thought, that it was work having that done. And it was not a walk in the park. But I am so glad. And I thank the grace of God every day getting me through this. Because without God and without my belief.
That's right. That's it. And God guided his hands.
God did.
To be able to get it right at that specific point where it needed to be. That is a skill, brains. It is a skill. And again, don't take it for granted. And you guys are really, really my hero and shero. Because this is cutting edge technology. And if I can conclude with a couple things, is number one, check your cybersecurity.
Yes.
Check your cybersecurity, check your hormone levels and the food that you're eating. Be aware of your sexual desires and intimacy. There's a lot of things that you can do without penetration to still show your partner that you love them and that you care for them and that you will carry them. Work it out. Whatever your finances is, God will make a way. He will make a way. Contact the doctors, get as much information. Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear is a captor. Fear is the devil, okay? And it's going to keep you trapped, keep you in that lie. And be giving and sharing, and share your information and love one another and try to be kind, because this is the only life that we actually know of. I believe that there is a hereafter, but if you don't act right, you ain't gonna get there. How about that? So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you for your coaching program, and if they want more information.
Okay. You can reach me at Mary, Mary, at comingfromthetop.com, no spaces. And Ian, if anybody needs information for his cybersecurity, is
Yeah, it's ion-security.com. So it's ion-security.com for me.
Well, thank you again so much, Brains. I'm telling you, I bring you the business, okay? Not the monkey business, but the real business right here at this address on the edge. I need you to love, like, and share. What did I say? Love, like, and share. One more time. Love, like, and share. Because that's what we do here, because caring is sharing. Thank you so much, Ian and Mary. You are the best.
Thank you, April.
thank you, April.
Bye, Brains.